Welcome in, grab a seat, and join me courtside as we talk your Miami Heat. Welcome on into another edition of Miami Heat Basketball Beat. I'm your host, Michael Furley. And as always, I'd like to thank you all so very much for joining me today. For those following along, I'd like to apologize. We've had a short hiatus. It's been about 6 days or so since our last episode here. Due to the West Coast road trip for your Miami Heat, it was hard to. I watched all the games. I've got plenty of thoughts, but at the same time, by the time I got some highlights together, some scripts written down, it was so early in the morning. I just kind of kept punting until now we're on to our next week. So figured we're not going to go back here. Before we do go along, we did have a positive road trip as the Miami Heat did go 3-2 on their 5-game West Coast road trip, although they did beat all the teams with lesser records and or major injuries. So status quo, we lose to the good teams. We beat the teams we should beat. For the most part, we'll take it. We're just trying to stay above that 500 mark. And we are now 3 games over 500 heading into our game against Orlando later tonight. And when I say tonight, because it is Wednesday, January 28th, and we've got some major news in terms of the NBA trade deadline. This one comes in from Shams Charania here. Earlier today on Wednesday, he says, let's read this so we have it right. 2-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo is now ready for a new home at the February 5th NBA trade deadline. Or in the offseason, have several rival teams. I didn't really think about this. Not several teams, several rival teams. You know who's a rival to the Bucks? Your Miami Heat. All right, rival teams are making aggressive offers for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And a subsequent tweet kind of teasing the article that breaks it down further. It just says that Giannis Antetokounmpo is prepared for a new home as early as the trade deadline, and of course also or by the offseason going into the 26-27 season. All right, let's talk about why it makes a difference whether it's the trade deadline or in the offseason. And let's look at it from two perspectives, both away from your Miami Heat, as these are the players, the people making the decisions. The front office for Milwaukee, in my opinion, would prefer to wait to the offseason as more teams will have more to offer them in terms of trade assets, players, stuff like that. And there'll be less restrictions based on roster configuration because your rosters don't have to be locked in yet. So you can have less or more players under contract until the beginning of training camp area or so. So in terms of the Bucks, they want to wait, in my opinion. I'm just assessing the situation here. They're going to want to wait to the offseason because, like I said, just more offers, more things can be put in there, and less restrictions on what they can do in the trade. Now, in terms of Giannis, again, these are my opinion. I'm just reading the tea leaves here, guys. He is going to want this trade done by the trade deadline, and here is why. Whenever a player is traded and extension eligible, which Giannis is, you cannot sign an extension with your new team until 6 months after you've been acquired by said team. So if he is acquired in the offseason, let's just say July, August, September, even October, he won't be able to sign an extension until either be like January, February, March, depending on which month he's traded in. And he'll have plenty of time for injuries to accrue potentially. So at that point, he'd be playing on an expiring deal. You can have a handshake agreement, but you can't sign that extension until 6 months after being acquired. So from Giannis's perspective, he's going to want to prefer to be traded by the deadline so his clock can start on that extension to be signed in July, give or take. Let's see, 2 + 6 is 8 in August. August. If he gets traded anywhere between now and February 5th, he can sign his extension between the end of July to early August. So he's going to want that clock to start ticking. So he is definitely going to want to push the Milwaukee Bucks to try and get a deal done. However, the Bucks front office, of course, holds all the power in terms of when they can pull off a deal. So keep that in mind here, guys. The first battle here between whether Giannis is traded now or the offseason is going to determine who's winning the power struggle to start with here. That'll just be an indication just so you can keep that in mind. All right, now we're talking about your Miami Heat. We want to get this done as soon as possible. So let's talk about what we can offer here. Let's bring in our salary cap sheet for your Miami Heat. All right, as you see here, the lime green banner at the bottom is our total salary on the books right now. We're at 186 million plus, and the luxury tax line is 187, approximately 0.9 million. So we've got about 1.7 million in wiggle room. I will tell you this, I don't want to say it's a priority for the Heat, but they are definitely going to be working in the self-imposed parameters of that luxury tax line. Your Miami Heat are not going over that tax line, no matter how much you think these guys are billionaires. They are not going over that. So whatever they do, they are not going to take on more than 1.6-ish million in any combination of deals they take. Also, keep in mind, if you look at the top banner here in yellow, it might be a little hard for you to read here, but the Miami Heat only have 14 of their 15 roster spots filled right now, which is legal, but you cannot have 13 and you can't have more than 15. So they cannot send out more players than they get back. They have to take back one more player than they send out, or they will have to sign a player off of the street. And so let's just keep that in mind. With 14 players here, they're going to have to, someone like Giannis, who makes $54 million, we have no one player who equals that. So just to get to the math, we're going to have to send 2 for 1, and we cannot do that because we would be then under our roster minimum. So for them to make a deal here, unless we send out the same number of players, you're going to have to see those Miami Heat signing somebody off the street. Could be a 10-day. That will satisfy that minimum. So you can have someone on the books for a short period of time just to satisfy your requirements. However, that will be a sign. If you see them sign a player to a 10-day contract, that is a hint that they are making some moves where they'll be acquiring less players than they are sending out, regardless of the move or moves that they may or may not do. All right, before we look at the Milwaukee Bucks salary cap sheet, I want to remind you here, what can we offer? What can we offer? We can offer, of course, any player on our roster right now, as every player has all of their trade restrictions lifted. The last player that had a restriction was Davion Mitchell, who was lifted at January 15th. So all of our players are eligible to be traded, whatever that's worth, and we can trade up to 2 first-round picks. And the reason it's 2 is, in case you are not aware, the step-in rule in the NBA means you must have at least 1 first-round pick in every other year. So right now, Miami Heat does have their own 2026 second-round pick, their own 29, 30, 31, and 32. But by acquiring Terry Rozier a couple years back, they traded a first-round pick to the Charlotte Hornets. And the bad thing about that, it could be either a 2027 first-round pick or a 2028 first-round pick, depending on where the Heat fall in the standings in 2027. If they make the playoffs in 2027, the pick will go to Charlotte in that year. If they do not make the playoffs in 2027 and have a top 14 pick, the Heat will keep the 27 pick, and the 2028 pick will then go to Charlotte. Here's the rub. We don't know which pick it's going to be yet until we finish the 26-27 season. Therefore, you can't trade the 2028 pick because you don't know if it's going to convey in 27 or 28. So this one pick that could be either 27 or 28 going to the Charlotte Hornets prohibits us from trading our 26 pick and our 29 pick, and the 27 or 28 is also going to be on the road going, and we're going to have to keep the other one. So that one pick with either or years locks up 26, 7, 8, and 9, 4 years for one pick. So that's why, in my opinion, I think you probably shouldn't put protections on picks. Shouldn't put protections on picks. I know you want the insurance policy, but it really, really hamstrings you in terms of your opportunities to make moves later instead of just ripping the Band-Aid off and then having opportunities to improve. Nonetheless, that's where we are. Your Heat can trade the 2030 pick and the 2032 pick. That is it. At least going into this trade deadline. Once we get into the offseason, some other things might open up. We still can only trade 2 first-round picks, but then we could trade the player we draft in the 2026 draft. So, again, that pick really does screw us when we're sending out to Charlotte. Unless, and I doubt it, there's been no indication of this, that the NBA gives us some kind of stepping rule exception or something like that, or allows us to trade a pick like that because the player we acquired was under investigation at the time of us acquiring him, Terry Rozier, and Charlotte knew it. Potentially, the NBA knew it, potentially, and the Heat were not made aware of it. So they were sold damaged goods without knowing that. And granted, they agreed to the deal, but they didn't agree to it knowing all of the variables here. All right. So that being said, we can offer 2 first-round picks going out no matter what trades we make all into the trade deadline. A maximum of 2 picks. If we send 1 pick out somewhere else, we can only send our remaining pick out. So to get Giannis, it's going to take everything we can offer. So what's the most we can offer in terms of draft assets? 2 picks and all the swaps that they can take. For those uninitiated, a draft pick swap means you can trade a pick in a year that you have to keep that pick. But if that other team has a pick in that same draft, they will get the better of the 2 picks, regardless of who finishes higher or lower. And then the team trading out the swap will get the lesser of 2. Usually these are pretty negligible because the team acquiring the better player in the deal tends to have a better record and better play. When I say better record and a lower draft spot later in the draft. Therefore, they rarely convey unless you do swaps way down the line. So just keep their swaps are not that valuable when you're trading away an MVP to your opponent. All right, so we can trade the 2 picks. Also, sorry, let me get their draft. I thought I had it up. Let me get their cap sheet up here real quick. All right, there's the Milwaukee cap sheet up. They're very similar to us in that they are under the luxury tax. So we have no parameters in terms of money going out and in terms of who can take on more. Either one of us can take on more. Just keep in mind, we are not going to take on more than 1.6 million more than we send out. And they are not going to take more than about 11 million more than they're going to send out. And also, see, they have 15 of their 15 roster spots taken, which means they are not able to acquire more players than they send out. And we cannot send out any more players than we receive. So in that instance, we're going to have to send out the same number of players that we acquire. So what can we do to get to that Giannis Antetokounmpo salary at 54 million, 126,000 and change here? Well, we want to get rid of Terry Rozier. That is a tradable asset that is worthless after the trade deadline. So let's we want to throw that in no matter what. That's what we want to get rid of to get there. And if you throw in, say, Tyler Hero, this is just an example here. Tyler Hero and Terry Rozier get you to 57.5 million. That is in the range of the 54.5 that Giannis Antetokounmpo makes, which means that we'd be sending out approximately $3 million more. That's all good. We want to send out more than we can get, usually speaking. But now we need to take a player back to be equal here. Well, I'm looking at their roster here, and they're going to want to probably send out Thanasis Antetokounmpo. So we get a pair of Antetokounmpos. Let's see, that's at 2.3 million plus 54.1 million is 56.5 million. And we'd be sending out with those 2 players, I just did it, 57.5 million. So that's a $1 million difference going out. So that works right there. That's as simple as you can get it. Hero and Rozier for a pair of Antetokounmpos. We give them the 2 first-round picks and as many swaps as they want. Now the question you have to ask yourself, I'm good with that. Are you good with that, Heat Nation? I think so, but you have to be fair and honest. Would that be enough for the Milwaukee Bucks to take the deal? I think we can all say fairly and honestly that is not enough. They're going to want some prospects that we have because we can't trade other picks. They're probably going to want either Ware or Yakachonis, and honestly, if I were them, I would take them both because that's just what I would do. If they were to take them both, that's Kello Ware makes $4.5 million. Kaspers makes $3.5 million, so that's just a tick over $8 million there between the 2 players. So again, we're going to take anywhere back between $8 and $9.5 million to make this work for all of our parameters. And they have players like Gary Harris and Taurean Prince make $7 million together. So if we send out 8, we get back 7. So we would actually save $2 million or so over the already 1.7 we have here. So that's the trade here, guys. I think that would be the trade that we can offer. That's the best we can offer, I think, that fits in their timeline here, unless they want someone like Wiggins instead of Hero, which I doubt because they're going to want to probably have someone younger that can flip for later and or work into their system here. So here is the trade. I'm not saying they're going to take it, but this is honestly the Heat's best offer. It is Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier, Khalil Ware, and Yakachonis. All the first-round picks we have, the 2030 and the 2032, all the swaps we can do, maybe even a couple seconds potentially. I'm not sure how many seconds we have to trade. Whatever it takes to sweeten the deal, and we get back a pair of Antetokounmpos, a expiring Gary Harris contract, and a Taurean Prince. I'm not sure how much time he has left on his contract, but these guys are all on short-term deals, most likely. So it clears the books for us, honestly, except for Giannis. So that's just perfect for our going forward here. And the only asset we give up other than our draft picks, not only, we have Tyler Hero and our two best young players with all the draft picks we can get out. So that's what's going to get it. That's what we can offer. That's the best we can offer. The question is, will Milwaukee take it? They say no and they want more, we can rope in another team in the deal. And the best way to have this happen here is for us to acquire a 2028 first round pick. So then we can open up, then we could trade our 2028 because we'd have potentially at least one, if not two, in that year. And we could trade it anyway because if we don't give up if we give up our 2027, we keep our 28. Therefore, we have two 28 picks we can trade. And if it doesn't convey in 27 and the Charlotte Hornets get our 28 pick, we have another one that we can still trade. So if we can acquire a 2028 first round pick, if they don't want our young players and they want to pick instead of the young players, who out there has 28 picks that we've heard some chatter about that maybe we can acquire one from? Well, the easy ones I can think of here are the Lakers have a 2028 pick. However, they cannot trade it. Do that same stepping rule. They cannot trade their 2028 pick. There's been rumors that they want Wiggins. So essentially, we're going to have to unload one of our veterans, Wiggins or Powell, to try and acquire a first-round pick. Again, 2028 is what we're aiming for. But you can't do it with the Lakers. Sorry, the Lakers cannot trade that pick. The Warriors, however, can trade that pick. So you could do a Wiggins for Kuminga, for example. However, there are parameters on that trade as well for the Golden State Warriors. Let me pull up their cap sheet. I don't have it for you guys to see, but I can load it up real quick. Due to them being over the first apron, they have a couple parameters that they cannot that they have to fit into. They cannot take in any salary more than what they send out, so they have to take in less. So if they were to send out Kuminga and we send out Wiggins, they have to send out another $6 million more. And the only person they have who makes close to $6 million is Al Horford, but he makes just too little. We'd be off by like $200,000. So a Horford-Kuminga pairing does not work. You can do Kuminga and Buddy Hield. That gets you to about $31 million. We could send out Wiggins, then like Yakachonis, and then we get a first-round pick. So essentially, if Milwaukee didn't want, say, Yakachonis, for example, but preferred a first-round pick, you could send out Yakachonis and Wiggins to get Kuminga, Hield, and the first-round pick. So it all depends what they want. We'd be using our other assets here, other players to get more assets. I'd rather keep Wiggins than have that first-round pick, but if that is the sticking point, so in that case, you're essentially trading Wiggins and Hero with all of your picks and young players for Giannis. You're trading a lot more, but you get Kuminga back. So it depends if you think Kuminga is worth it. So essentially, I think that's a worse deal for us, obviously, but it might be what it's going to take to trade to get the Giannis. So if you really want Giannis and they don't take that first deal, you're going to have to throw in Wiggins into your overall deal. However, you would be also receiving someone like Kuminga and then Buddy Hield to round out your roster. As again, with the Golden State Warriors, it's the same as with Milwaukee. You have to send out the same number of players you take back due to them being at their 15 roster spots. All right, I got one more. So that's what's going to take here, guys. It's possible. It's not the worst deal. I don't think it's the worst deal getting Hero, 2 first-round picks, and 2 first-round drafted players who were drafted in the last 2 years. I don't think that is actually that bad, but it is Giannis. But maybe with his demands and injury history, maybe the price comes down just enough where that might work. So keep an eye on that. Is the deal that I think can get it done. And if on the side note here, if they do want a 2028 first-round pick instead of a Yakachonis, for example, that move will probably have to happen first, or maybe a 3-team deal at the same time. nonetheless, if you see the Heat make a deal for a 2028 first-round pick by sending out someone like Wiggins or Norm Powell, it is on. If we get a 2028 pick by this trade deadline, were you doing that to either acquire Giannis now or in the offseason, where then we could trade a 2028 30 and 32 pick there as well. So yeah, it'd still be the same number of picks here, but there'd be less obstructions there. All right, what other teams have a 2028 first round pick that we can maybe acquire? Well, I'm looking over here, and I don't know how Houston does it. They are set up so well. They're already doing awesome in terms of the standings. They acquired Kevin Durant, and they have, oh my, they have 5 first-round picks they can trade, as they have 2 first-round picks in 27, 2 in 29, which means they already have they're already going to have 2 there, so they can trade both of them. So they can also trade their 2028 pick as well. What would it take to acquire their 2028 pick? As they cannot take on more salary than they give out. And again, we're not taking on, and they can only, sorry, they're going to be hard capped. Sorry, I had it. I lost it. They are hard capped. They only have 1.2 million that they can take on more. Well, they can't take on more. So never mind. So they can't take on more money. They are locked. They have 14 players in their roster, so they can take on one more player than they send out. So to get their first round pick, what would it take? They're going to want a good player. They're on a playoff run, so someone like Norm Powell or Wiggins would be someone they're interested in. We could send someone out like Norm Powell, and then they have a Fred VanVleet, who has one more year on his deal, but he is hurt this year, out for the rest of this season, makes $25 million next year. Steven Adams is also under contract for next year, but he has just been ruled out for the rest of the season with an ankle surgery. That happened earlier today. So they have 2 guys on their roster who are not playing this year, both of which are under contract for next year if Fred VanVleet exercises his player option. So you could send them Powell and get VanVleet. We'd still have to send them another $3.5 million or so. We could send them Jonas. Again, this is to get that first round pick. So if you send Ware or Jonas, that is to acquire a first round pick, while the other prospect is going till Milwaukee. So we could trade, say, Jonas, then we'd have to acquire one of their cheaper players that's less than him. I don't know how much they value these guys, but Josh Okogie makes $1 million less, $1.5 million less than let me do some math real quick. The problem with Houston, the numbers just don't quite add up because they can't take more, and we're not taking more than 1.7 million. And let's see, Norm Powell. Sorry, math one more time. Yeah, it doesn't quite work unless they're willing to get rid of Tari Eason. I don't know how much they like him or not. He's not old. Then we could send out Fontecchio with we couldn't even do that either. Oh, we could. No, the numbers just don't work up for us. We'd have to make a smaller deal to try and shed about $1 million, as all the combinations that I can see here with us in Houston would we be taking on about $2.5 million more in salary, and we can only take about 1.7 more. So we wouldn't do it unless we made a smaller move where we trade away like someone like Kashad Johnson to try and get like a 10-day or Drew Smith to get someone who's cheaper than that. But it'd be tough. So the numbers just don't quite work out in trying to acquire Houston's 2028 first round pick. And honestly, if Houston has all these first round picks they can trade, they can just go for Giannis themselves, to be honest with you. So that's a problem here. Once you start roping in other teams that have these first-round picks that they're able to trade, like Golden State, like Houston, they can just skip us to get Giannis with the assets they have themselves, as Golden State could trade 4 first-round picks and just put Jimmy Butler's contract in there as a bad contract to get Giannis, the same way we're trying to throw in Terry Rozier as a bad contract to get Giannis. Obviously, it's a different combination of players, but if they don't want players and just want picks, it's a lot easier for Milwaukee to work with Golden State, to be honest with you. It all depends, though, on where Giannis wants to go and how much how much the Milwaukee Bucks want to work with him to help send them to a team he wants to go to Keep in mind, we are rivals with Milwaukee Bucks over the last 6 years or so. There's no reason why they want to help us out. I mean, they kind of stole Damian Lillard from us when we were trying to acquire him. Why would they want to help us out? So I could see them trying to send them to a Western Conference team, unless we can kind of rope in a 3-team deal that they're not aware of, the same way how Drew Smith was traded from Milwaukee to Portland, and then Portland rerouted him quickly to the Celtics. I doubt very sincerely here that Milwaukee wanted to trade Drew Smith to the Celtics, but it ended up that way. So unless we can kind of do a second move, a back deal move here, again, those things are a little easier to do in the offseason. They're harder to do at the trade deadline. So honestly, our best deal here, our best offer right now without doing other trading away our veterans like Powell and Wiggins to acquire some sort of draft assets to bolster the pick, would be Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier, our 2 young guys, and Ware Yakachonis, our 2 first-round picks and swaps for a pair of Antetokounmpos and whatever players they want to throw in at that $4 million mark. Torian Prince, Gary Harris, Gary Trent Jr., any 2 of those 3 guys would work. So that's not that bad of a deal if he really wants to come to Miami. I can't answer that question. So Miami can put out a competitive offer. Keep in mind, Giannis is banged up, and if these injuries are for real, whatever teams acquire him is going to take a chance, and it's always going to make his value just a little bit lower. That maybe they might get the deal done just to get it done. In terms of other players out there, Ja Morant, it actually is a little more difficult than I thought it was going to be to get the numbers to work out, because they've got a lot of cheap guys that they'd want to keep. And it would take us 2 players to get there, and the money just doesn't work out that clean. The only way I could think to do it, let me get it back up here. Let's just finish a thought here. Let's look at the Memphis Grizzlies stat sheet. I've got this up for you here. Ja Morant, again, they're at 15 players, so again, we can't send out more than we take back. So we could send them some, if we want to do some expiring, let's see, that would be Terry Rozier. And we have to send out about 13 to 15 more. We could do Fontecchio, Davion Mitchell, and Rozier. Again, we're not sending a first-round pick to Memphis no matter what. That would be, let's see, that's 20 million. That's 46 million, and they have at 39. So they have to have 2 more players. That would be around 8 million or so, 8.5. Do they have 3 players that could equal that? They do. I don't know to be honest, I don't know their roster that well. I know Jalen Wells is good. They're not going to get rid of him. He's one of their cheap guys. I don't know if Cedric Coward is good. He's got that 5.7 million. So you could do Ja, Coward, and either Cam Spencer and Vince Williams, or Jock Landale. Landale rather. I don't know how much they like these guys. So they're not sending us. They're already sending us the best player in Ja Morant, and we're just sending them Davion Mitchell and Fontecchio. So the only prospect they get out of this is Davion Mitchell, and they get 2 expiring contracts in Simone Fontecchio and Terry Rozier. So that's if they just want to get off the money, but really they're not getting anything for Ja Morant in that trade except for Davion Mitchell. So again, I don't know how much. That's just how desperate they are, because we're not going to get rid of Yakachonis or Ware or any of our picks for Ja Morant. We're saving those for Giannis, who may not even be acquired by the trade deadline. Even whether it's trade deadline or offseason, we are going to want to have those picks ready to go until Giannis is traded, and then we won't need those for that particular deal. So we're not going to trade any of our prospects or any of our picks for Ja Morant. Again, the only thing we could offer them is Rozier, Mitchell, and Fontecchio for Morant, and whatever young cheap guys they want to get rid of to do a 3-for-3 terms of players here. So that's all about them being desperate. I want to make that move if I was them. They have control over Morant for another year and a half or so. They can wait longer to make trades and try and rehabilitate his status in the league here. So I actually like our chances. I like the package we can send out for Giannis as it is. Honestly, if we have to get another pick, we're sending out a lot more. We're sending out a Wiggins or a Powell, which are good players we can keep on our team if possible, or we could use those guys to get a better package. I don't think Kuminga in a first is worth Wiggins, in my opinion. Even getting Giannis, I don't know. That's close. I mean, you're going to do whatever you can to get Giannis. With that being said, guys, we are heading into tonight's game where we're going to be playing on the Orlando Magic, who we cannot beat. However, we are ahead of them in the standings. Let me scroll down on my sheet here. We are currently in 7th place, a full game ahead of Orlando. We're a half game behind Philadelphia in 6th place. So let's see. Charlotte has now passed Milwaukee in terms of being in 11th place. I know you can't see this here. So we are 6 games up from being out of the play-in. Just saying, from missing the playoffs completely prior to the play-in tournament. There's 6 games ahead of that. And we are 4.5 games away from being the 2 seed. So we are closer to the 2 seed than being out of the play-in. And we're only a half a game from being out into the 6th spot and being out of the play-in altogether. Let's see what the games are tonight. I know we play tonight. I don't know if Philly plays tonight because they played last night. Let me see real quick. Again, I know you can't see this. I apologize. Who are interested tonight? All right, Cleveland is playing at home against the Lakers without Evan Mobley, another player who's out for a couple weeks here. We've had a lot of injury news over the last couple days. Chicago's playing Indiana. Atlanta's playing Boston. New York's playing Toronto. Who's ahead in the standings between those two? Because Toronto's been playing pretty darn well. They are tied. So the winner of that game will be in 3rd place. The loser will be in 4th. So we don't really care who wins that game. We're going to catch up on one of those teams regardless. Or not catch up. If we win, we can catch up. Oh, I got some news here for you that just came in. And I'll get to that in a second before we leave. Any other games of interest for us on our standings watch? Nope, not really. All right. So we're rooting against Cleveland, against the Lakers tonight. Chicago, we just want to lose. They're playing Indiana. I guess we want Atlanta to beat Boston. And, of course, we want to defeat Orlando, and we really don't care the winner between Toronto and New York. Although we do have the tiebreaker, or we have a chance to get the tiebreaker against New York. We are less likely to get that against Toronto, whatever that's worth. All right, some news that just came in ahead of the Miami Heat's game against the Orlando Magic. Okay, Kel'el Ware is going to play tonight. Norm Powell is going to play tonight. Davion Mitchell was also listed as questionable earlier in the day, is now downgraded to out. Again, we always talk about a hero is also out. We also talk about these injuries around trade deadline time. I'm not sure how bad the injury was to Mitchell, but we did see him bang up his shoulder, so it is an injury. He did play 1 game after missing 1, and then has since missed 3 others, if you include tonight. So he is missing time, but we did see him get hurt, so it's not a fake injury. I'm not saying other people do have fake injuries, but you have to at least consider it. So Davion Mitchell's out, and every time someone misses a game, we're always like, are they being traded? I don't know. But Ware is back in the lineup tonight, as is Norm Powell. So we have a really good chance we have to take this win tonight against the Magic to get a 2-game advantage over those Magic and to creep up and then tie the Philadelphia 76ers. And I think we have a tiebreaker on them right now. So if we win tonight, we played more games. So they'll be ahead by percentage points even if we win. But we'll be tied in terms of games back. All right, I know I'm rambling here a little bit, but the big news here is Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks are discussing parting ways here as early as the February 5th trade deadline. Your Heat are in 7th place, fighting to get out of the play-in area of the standings here, and they have 2 players back Kel'el Ware is back in the lineup tonight after missing the last 4 games on that road trip. I'm a big Ware fan, so let's hope he can show out whether he's on this team in the future or not. I'm rooting for the young man. With that being said, guys, may you please make your free throws. May your coaches' challenges be successful. And we will see you next time.